Hello, Newport, and welcome to From the Desk of the Mayor. Thank you, NEK-TV, for allowing me to speak to the residents of Newport. I am proud to be your mayor, and I want everyone to know that yesterday we had a council meeting, and also that by 5 o'clock yesterday, candidates for the various open seats needed to file their petitions. So thank you to everyone who has stepped up to the plate, and good luck to you all. I want to just please ask everyone to remember that this is work. It's not just waving and kissing babies, and every council member and the mayor have a responsibility that they need to follow according to the charter. So please, do the work that must continue for our good citizens. Do not take these roles lightly, and please understand that the mayor is also the CEO and is there to work. The council members are there to work. So a lot of work, and thank you for stepping up to the plate, and let's keep moving Newport forward. A lot of work has been done prior now to get it into a place where it's easy to move forward. So let's not let it fall backwards. And I am proud to say that the Newport residents come first, and that is why I worked so diligently to put policies in place to favor the Newport residents so that we can have a good city. Yesterday at the council meeting, we passed the budget. We had a budget adjustment meeting as well that was part of that meeting. And the budget adjustment is a common tool and an appropriate tool which should be used regularly to make sure that debt is not managed but is eliminated. And we handled all of that. We dealt with historical practices of not assigning appropriately sinking funds and giving authorization, of just saying obligations are there in certain accounts, and now we've uncommitted all these prior accounts that and obligations that did not have appropriate monies in the accounts. And going forward, we will be using the appropriate processes to make sure that what is expected of the city is done, and there is confidence in those who will be running the city, and they will be held accountable appropriately as the charter explains. Another issue that came up was a conflict of issue. There was a long discussion about conflicts of interest, and I had sent out, as required by the Ethics Commission, to those people who are now holding seats, as well as advise those people who were running, to please take the training that was offered by the Ethics Commission, by the State Ethics Commission, and for the municipality training as well. And people have been doing that. I want everybody to understand, because this was a big discussion yesterday, and we'll take a lot more looking into. A conflict of interest actually arises when a person's own interests have vested, and the person has vested authority, okay, or favoritism towards close relationships that unduly influence the way they may act and can hinder the impartial execution of their responsibilities and their obligations. So it is very important to understand what a conflict of interest is, okay? There are different types of conflicts of interest, and they can be receiving monetary benefits, assets, and type of advantages from agencies, organizations, or any related individuals that are associated with the tasks that they handle or they oversee. It's very important that you understand that a conflict of interest could arise when it comes to the involvement in establishing, managing, or directing enterprises, limited liability companies, partnerships, cooperatives, not-for-profits, okay? Distinct from where different laws govern, but it's very important to understand them. It is important to understand that our city attorneys represent the city and do not represent individuals. So if anybody has a conflict of interest, they need to get their own attorney. And so it is important to understand that. We want to be very careful that when you're making these decisions and you are in the position of authority, that you stay as independent as neutral so that you can actually act in the best interests of the city. So one other thing you want to be careful of is making sure that there's no unjust intervening or activities with the agencies or organizations or individuals that have a vested authority for your own personal gain. An example of a conflict of interest can be serving on a board of an organization where the member of the board has an influential role both for the company and its competitor or its partner. And this could be to divided loyalties or direct or indirect influence. Family members and friends relationships are issues that could create conflicts of interest. But there was a big question that was asked, what can the people do? And I said that I would research that more, and I do still need to do that. But at this point in time, what the people can do is they have a voice and they can use their voice. Of course, their voice is always at the ballot box, but also they can do petitions, they can have forums, they can come to meetings and voice their positions at public comments, they could write letters to council members, and they can write letters to the, open forums like the press, and they can join together to identify what the conflict is. The person who owns the conflict of interest is required now to make a statement as to why they believe there is no conflict of interest if in fact they so choose to take that position. If they choose to say they do have a conflict of interest, then they just abstain on any votes and any discussion on those matters, and they do not have to make that statement. But I will be looking further into the matter. But once again, remember that the city attorneys represent the city, and at all times, those who are voted into office should always take the interests of the city as the priority. And that is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to put the cities first. I do want you to know that as your mayor, it has been my great honor and privilege this last term to serve you. You are the residents of the city of Newport, and I was honored to be your mayor. And I look forward to continuing through the next term to see who comes out and becomes your next mayor. I hope that I wanted to give you some highlights and challenges that were faced over the past year. And I know this doesn't sound very exciting, but the hard work of my colleagues and myself on the City Council, we addressed a number of fiscal, infrastructural, environmental, and governance issues that have long needed attention. We went way back to look at what wasn't being done, what wasn't being followed in accordance with the charter. We reorganized and we brought forth the way it should go forward. And once again, we paid attention to critical labor union issues that were out there that should not have been out there, and we corrected those and we resolved those issues. We worked with community partners, we worked in tandem with stakeholders, we addressed housing and healthcare needs. We are looking at well-paying jobs. We looked at the wage growth. We looked at making our area a revitalization area, not just one or two streets, but the entire neighborhood. In that process, as your mayor, I robustly engaged the community. I spoke with partners in legislative and executive branches in Montpelier. I looked at what our specific needs were, and I tried to find practical solutions. I will say that I've been thrilled by the level of involvement by our residents, by our educators, by our caregivers and our businesses in this community, because we organized around important issues and we protect our Great Lake. We are trying our best, and I do believe it will be done, and I will not stop, in saving the region's only primary care hospital. We will enhance policies and public safety resources. I have combated human trafficking. We've had forums, and we have advanced our regional airport and downtown development initiatives. I am honored that the governor put me on so many different councils and boards so that I can continue my work. In the spirit of openness and transparency, we tightened up our public meeting procedures. We allowed them to become finally efficient and informative public meetings. We've given every resident of this city the right and the ability to sit with me every week to ask questions and get directly involved in advocating issues of interest for them. I've had public access television, thank you NEK-TV, and weekly print media to inform and engage. I want everybody to understand that the charter is pretty crystal clear. Of course, there's some vague areas, but you look at the intent and it's crystal clear. The mayor is charged with making sure that the officers and employees do their jobs. Straightforward. The council is charged with the hiring and firing process. Individual aldermen's responsibility are concisely identified. As your mayor, giving appropriate directives to your city administrators, together, we have built a sound budget now that was supported by numbers which we have confidence in. Finally, we've put into place policies that will better help us identify and minimize fraud, abuse, and waste. Please, we need to be compliant. You want grant money? You need to look at the grants you want, but you need to be in compliance so that you can get federal and state confidence in you to award the grants that you want. Don't just haphazardly go out and look for grants. Identify them. We put a grant manager in place who's doing a phenomenal job. Finally going back, and all the work that was not done is regrouping monies that the city is entitled to. I have worked hand in hand with this grant manager, and we have identified the need, the procedures, the requirements, contracts that were not signed with authorization. We are correcting all of this, and we are getting the money back for the city. Please do not let any of these procedures go backwards. It is very important that we continue. We have brought back ballot box accountability, and your elected officials and your city operations need to continue with this wise movement forward. I am proud to say that I follow the charter, and I have had the council follow the charter. We've worked with licensed professional law firms to give us the appropriate advice, regardless of comments from anyone else, regardless of their background. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, but the legal advice comes from the experts. And we are lucky to have two of the most phenomenal, renowned law firms advising the city. So, while there are always those who are allowed to say what they want, and we will never stop people from offering their opinions, please understand that your legal advice comes from the appointed city attorneys who are experts in this area. My hope was always to bring back fiscal integrity and responsibility, and I have worked towards assuring our fiscal integrity by appropriately complying with these grants and debt obligations, by retrieving overlooked funds rightfully belonging to the city, by addressing and finally fixing past water and sewer financial shortfalls, by making certain corrective tax filings are fixed, by streamlining the internal workings of the administration of the city's operations, and by adopting policies that have brought the city finally into compliance with accounting standards, with federal and state law, and with our own city charter and statutes. Steps that will unquestionably contribute to our ability to operate in a more efficient and cost-effective manner in the years to come. So, A lot of this doesn't sound particularly glamorous, I know, but I rolled up my sleeves and I intend to continue to work on all of those boards I'm appointed on. I intend to work for the best interests of the state of Vermont and the city of Newport. I am here, but please remember, it's good government is all about hard work, not just waving and smiling and playing music and sitting down and having coffee. Roll up your sleeves, get in there, and work and understand the law. Remember, the city is your responsibility, nothing else. The city is who you represent. You represent those people, and you must make sure that the city is the one that you are speaking for in your role. So I have been so proud to play a part in moving our gem of the city from a drive-through city to finally a drive-to city. And I want to thank you all for your confidence. And I am here. I still have my morning mayor's meetings over at the council room on Mondays from 9 to 11, Wednesdays by appointment. I am in there conducting department head meetings, and I am here working for you. So once again, thank you, Newport. We've got this.